Hi guys, welcome back. Today we'll be continuing our rating climb journey. Last time we sustained 1900. This time we'll be trying to hit 2000. So come on, let's go start. So let's just begin the game. So the game has started. We have the white pieces. Let's start with the d4. Knight f6. I'll say c4. Let's go g3. This is one of my main openings. So okay. So one thing for sure, black will create a fianchetto out of one of these bishops. Knight f3, e4, knight g5. And do I get the pawn? Oh, I might get the pawn. F3. Because if push attack, you can't push because take, and take. And there's not really another way you can defend it. Okay, bishop to e. Take. We do lose a piece. So let's just develop our knight. So here black will most likely castle. Okay, c6. Now your dark square bishop is actually very weak. Take. I really want to attack the e5 pawn. But first let's just castle. Now we can play e4. We can also just play bishop g5. Queen c2 and queen b3 are options for our queen. Okay, e4 has been played. Knight g5 isn't really good because after d5, cd5, cd5, that is somewhat solid. So let's go knight to d2. d5. Here we'll take cd5. And now if f3, black can play e3. But we play knight b3 and I'm pretty sure the e3 pawn is hanging. f3, e3, knight b3. Sure, let's go for it. We have two central pawns. Black also has two, but if you trade, we have an extra one. Another thing we can do is take with the e pawn. Then we can play f4 and then knight f3, knight e5, which will be a really strong square for a knight. We can also just take it with the bishop and attack on d5. All those moves are great, but I think I'll just stick to knight takes f3. So here we can play bishop f4, controlling e5 again so that we can play a knight to e5. Then if knight takes e5, bishop takes e5. So let's play bishop f4. This also controls all these dark squares, like the dark squares on the queen side. Now if I were black, I would play something like knight b6, then bishop to d6 to trade off that bishop. a6 has been played. Now I really want to put more pressure on that d5 pawn. So I really want to play queen to b3 and attack it again. So you know what, why not? Why not? We're threatening to take the pawn. How can black defend? Knight b6. It's probably the only move that will save the pawn, I guess. Then after that we can play knight to e5. And then we have 3 attackers and 3 defenders, so we need to bring another piece into the attack. Or we can trade off one of the defenders, such as bg5, bf6, and we trade off one of the defenders so that we get the pawn. Another thing we can do is after knight to b6, we can try to play a4, a5, attacking the knight so that when the knight moves, we can get the pawn. And if knight c6, well, very sure knight takes d5, knight takes d5, queen takes c4, wins the pawn. Yeah. Okay, black has played queen to b6. Black's offering a trade. Interesting. But I'm pretty sure the pawn is hanging, isn't it? It's double attacking, and if knight... So basically if black takes our queen, we can take the bishop with check, force king to move, then take, and we basically won a pawn and a bishop. Now, black can also just take the knight, in which case queen takes, and queen takes b2. That would be interesting. I would continue with a move like maybe queen e4, attacking the bishop and h7, like maybe some knight to g5 threats on h7, and also to defend on e2, so that the next move we can just attack the queen and attack b7 as well. Now we recapture, and then queen takes b2. We can still play rook b1, but we just lose the e2 pawn. Oh, okay, that is interesting, because we attack, queen takes e2, and here's the thing, we have rook e1, and once the queen moves, the bishop is actually hanging. So that's really interesting. Now if we attack, then black needs to save the queen somehow. And the only available squares are a3, c2, and c3. Now if black goes to c2 or c3, I'll just bring the other rook and attack. And if they go to a3, hmm, do we have any sort of attack? I mean, we do have like 95, but no, they'll act with the bishop. But basically, rook b1 is a good move, so let's play it. So we're attacking the queen. We are also attacking b7, but we need a minor piece in order to capture that, because there's a bishop defending. Now, if we could somehow, another idea, if we can somehow get this rook to c7, we can actually trade it off for 2 minor pieces. Now, if you guys do see it, it appears that the queen is quite almost trapped. Think about it. The only squares that the queen has currently are a4, c3, and I think that's it actually. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, in order to trap the queen, we need to control both these squares, and then we can attack the queen. Now, how do we do that? Well, I guess we can just play knight to g5 to like prepare rook f3 to attack the queen. And knight g5 is also a good move because it attacks f7. And then later if we move our dark square bishop, the rook also joins in. So I'll say let's go for it. And there's not really much of a problem if like black trades off, because that means we have the double bishop advantage. And black has a lot of dark square weaknesses on the queen side. Now we need to calculate what black's best move could be. Perhaps knight f6 would be a good move. Yeah. So here, well, we can play queen c4. Um, b5, I don't think it really works, because then I'll just play like queen c7, I guess. Or we can just go queen e5 and attack the bishop, but I think rook e8. So I'll say another option is actually to go to b3, trade off, and that b7 pawn looks really weak. And if rook a7, then pretty sure I have bishop b8, rook a8, and then I guess bishop c6. I mean bishop c7. Sorry. Anyway, let's go. Okay, now queen c4 or queen b3. Trade off the queens or not is the main question. I want to go with not trading off the queens, but I think trading off the queens might be a good idea in this position. So you know what? Let's go trade off the queens. Or try to, because if black doesn't want to trade, he can always go to a5. That's always an option for him. But if he does go to a5, then there's a problem for him. Actually, not really. No, there's no problem. I just get one pawn. And yeah, it's nothing much. I just get a pawn. And then you have to save your bishop, so you don't have time to take my a2 pawn. So, what can black play here? Oh, and if queen to c6, I mean queen to c5, we can also play something like, I don't know, rook fc1 followed by bishop to c7. Activity is always important, so we can activate our rook, bring it onto an open file, and then put the bishop on c7 to like somewhat attack. And now black has attacked our knight. It was really strong on g5. So, I mean, we can always just put it on e4 and try to trade. But I think in that case, black would just trade and then put his knight on d5. So, let's actually Just take. You take my queen. Then I can play knight e4, no? Because knight e4, and if knight to d5, then I have actually don't know, knight to d6, I guess. And then so knight e4 or knight h3 is also an option, but that looks really weak. I go there, you take, I take. Okay, knight e4, offering a trade of knights out this way. Bishop f5 isn't really a pin because knight takes f6 is a check. Here we are a bit low on time, so we have to play a little fast. So the bishop is on a3. It's not attacking anything. If it has to move, it can only go back. So that's one thing. Oh, and if knight to d5, he'll probably trade off for the bishop here. So like if knight to d5, we'll play knight to c5. What else? If bishop takes, then I'll just do pawn takes. I'm attacking your knight. If you take my bishop, I just take with the rook. Activity is always important. Now we have 3 pieces attacking the pawn, while there's only one like piece defending it. That is really sad. Okay, we trade, but you can't push. Anyway, it's pinned, so you can't push. Now we have 2 attackers versus 1 defender. If rook b8 to defend, we... No, I don't think we have c6. But we do have rook fb4 adding more pressure. And if rook a7, same story. We get that pawn. What black can do is like counter attack and try to get the pawn on e2. We can just give it up. Okay. So we can give it up or we can fight and defend it. I choose to defend. But rook e7 is possible. So let's just trade. And anyway, if you trade off the bishops, our rook enters the 7th rank. And rooks are always strong on the 7th rank. And when you have 2 rooks, it's even better. Yes, he had to stop both the rooks from entering. And now we save our pawn. Now we have a passed pawn on the c file. Passed pawns are really strong in endgames. So we need to keep this pawn for as long as we can. I mean, we can also just sack the pawn and try to get this a pawn. So yeah, you take, no problem. I'll get another passer. This one will be like, I think it's called an outside passer. It'll be like on the completely other side from where the rest of the pieces are. You see all these pawns on the king side? Well, there's only one pawn on the queen side and it's mine. So you see, suppose we trade off all the rooks. These 2 pawns, like you take, I take, and it's a king and pawn endgame. I will be more favorable because I have a pawn here which I can promote, and you will most probably go and like try to stop it. But in that time, my king can come infiltrate, take all of your pawns, and I can promote one of these pawns. So you see, passed pawns are really strong. You can sometimes just trade like your passed pawn for one of the opponent's pawn, and in this case, I am doing that. Except I'm giving away a passed pawn to create another passed pawn. And rook pawns are even harder to stop. Because like the c pawn, you can put a rook on a8, e8, f8 in like you can put it to the left side or to the right side in order to stop it. But a rook pawn, only rooks on this side can stop that. And if I get the pawn to the 7th rank, put a rook on b8, you cannot stop promotion. So I somehow need to, like after take, push the pawn all the way to the 7th rank, then make a battery on the b file and put a rook on b8. Yeah, it's easier said than done. Now we shall go to b6 and attack. And if you attack on e5, I think rook c6. Oh wait, no. If rook to c5, I just have c6. No, but I'm pretty sure if c6, then a5 happens. You want just take. Okay, now rook takes c5, a4. Rook a7. a5. a6, rook a8. Next we go a7. Okay. So next move a7. If king to g5 or something like that, we'll just play h3. A7. Now since the rook went to a3, basically we'll have to play h3 followed by e3 followed by king f3 then. And like that we can just slowly bring our pieces into action. And here's the annoying part. Black cannot enter the 6th rank or forward, like forward, without there being a pawn behind to stop any checks. Otherwise I can just give a check and promote. Like let's say king e6, I have check, promote. If you push the g pawn, you're in trouble. And another annoying thing is, if you bring your king close, I'll be like, it's okay, I'll take your pawn. Because if you take, I have check, skewer. King f3, check, take. And if check, I'll go to h3. And if king g7, I'll just play g4, I guess. h5. Okay. Interesting. I want to play h4. Why not? Let's play h4. Take. So here, king g3. I feel like this is somewhat zugzwang, cause all right. King f3. Yeah, I feel like we both are just stuck somewhat. No? If I think rook 8. I mean rook h8, sorry. I'm threatening check. You cannot take because check and I win the rook. Crazy. And black has to resign because in crazy positions like this, if rook takes pawn, I have check and I win the rook. So the king doesn't even have to come closer. f7, sure, I have this tactic. So next time you're in a rook and pawn endgame, you have a passed pawn, you can't figure out how to promote it, just use this. Get the pawn to the 7th rank, put the rook on the 8th. The enemy rook will have to be behind it in order to stop, like, check, take, promote, like, from sacrificing the rook. And so the rook has to be behind the pawn. The king will try to be active. If he comes onto the 6th rank or in front, feel free to go check and promote. And if they're not on the H and G files, like F to C, I mean F to F, E, or D, if they're on the C file, it doesn't work because after check, they have rook B, I mean king B6 or king B8 to defend. So if they're on the D, E, or F files, you can use this tactic. So let us analyze this game. Okay, it was a very complicated game. Let's go to the start. The opening was all solid. Both sides played really well until move 17 where I made an inaccuracy slightly. Yeah, here itself I should have just played queen b3 and offered a trade. But I played knight g5 and it led to complications with my knight. Like going to g5, coming to e4, then going to c5. Yeah, here I should have played rook b3, attacking the bishop, making it like forcing it to go all the way to e7. But I played knight to c5, slight inaccuracy again. Here black made a slight inaccuracy by taking the bishop. He should have gone forward, taken the initiative and attacked. And later black made a slight mistake of trading off the bishops. Should have just like tried to pin my bishop and after I bring my rook over to defend it again. He could have tried. But trading off bishops was really bad. Here I played king f2, slight inaccuracy again. Should have gone rook g4, continue putting pressure on the opponent king. Here rook a4 was a mistake. Here again should have continued putting pressure. Rook a8 was a blunder here. He should have just taken the c pawn. I can take the a6. I can take on a6. We can just make a peaceful draw. But rook a8 is losing. Here I just played rook g4 again, putting pressure. But I just played rook b6. Here rook takes a6 was a blunder, not because it's losing. Just I had advantage. I had a chance to win, but I just gave up that advantage. I should just put this rook on a5 and defend it. It would have been better. So after take blunder, it was all equal. It was very hard. Here g5 was a blunder because now your king doesn't have a lot of space. Here itself, I should have played rook a8 with that idea. But I didn't spot it yet. It's okay if you don't spot tactics. So here I played king f3, which is a blunder because I lose the chance to win. Here h5 is another blunder because it again gives me that chance to do it. Here h4 is alright. Gh4, gh4. Rook a4 was an accuracy. Here I still had rook h8, but I didn't see it. Played king g3, king g7, king f3. Now after king f7, I think this is the third time. So basically third time's the charm. I found it and I won the game. So hope you all liked it. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.